Epaphroditus, honor men like him. Welcome him in the Lord with great joy and honor men like him. Why? Why are we instructed to honor men like Epaphroditus? Well, when you honor someone, you draw attention to them. Albert Schweitzer said that example is not the best teacher. It is the only teacher. We need examples in our life. I can recall throughout my whole life, various stages in my life, who I would, when I would face a situation, it was just natural. I would go back and I would think, now what would so-and-so do? Example is the only teacher. So why honor men and women of godly character? Why draw attention to them? So that they can serve, whether they know it or not, as an example. Like begets like. Heroes inspire heroic behavior. All right. How many of you guys ever took a pillowcase, tied it around your neck after watching 30 minutes of your superhero and going out in the backyard, climbing up on the shed and seeing if you could fly? Okay. All right. Confession time. At least the top bunk, right? If at least the top bunk of trundle beds. Heroes inspire. That's why we're instructed to honor, lift them up, draw attention to them, so that they would inspire others. We need more heroes. In verse 20, we read about Timothy. I have no one else like him who takes a genuine interest in your welfare. A genuine interest. Verse 21, for everyone looks out for his own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. You put those two verses together and you learn what Jesus' interests are. What is Jesus interested in? He's interested in others. When we read in the gospel accounts, we read about Jesus. When we honor him, we are setting him up before our own eyes and looking at him, seeing how he reacted, responded, how he dealt with situations. And it inspires us, just that example, to be like him. As I said a few weeks ago, Jesus is totally focused on you. You see, because he lives, we can face tomorrow. And because he lives, we can live like him. In other words, because he is totally focused on you, you don't have to. Because he's totally focused on you, you don't have to focus on you. Because he is taking care of us, we don't have to look out for number one. We can be like him and serve for the benefit of others. Verse 22 tells us that Timothy has proved himself. He is a proven example. He is consistent. Now in verse 25, we read about Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus needs a nickname. I mean, hey, sorry, he just does. And I wonder what it was. I tried just about everything and nothing worked. I guess if I was there with him and and got to know his personality a little bit, it'd probably jump right out of there. But Epaphroditus, Paul calls him a brother, a fellow worker. So by calling him a brother, he was a confidant. He was someone who was close, a fellow worker. So he shared a common purpose with Paul. He was a fellow soldier. What do soldiers do? Just by enlisting or responding to the call, a soldier risks. Soldiers risk for one another. Paul refers to him as a messenger. A messenger works on someone else's behalf. And Paul did not use this word in verse 30, but Epaphroditus was a gap filler. You remember in Rocky, when Rocky was talking about Adrian, he says, I got gaps, and Adrian has gaps. But when we're together, we don't have any gaps. Epaphroditus, as we look at verse 30, because he almost died for the work of Christ, risking his life to make up for the help you could not give me. He came to Rome from Philippi, carrying most likely money to feed Paul, because the Christians in Philippi heard that he was in the Roman prison. He wrote this from prison. And, you know, in a lot of prisons in a lot of countries, and especially back then, if you didn't have family or friends, somebody come feed you, you didn't eat. And so he came to provide for Paul's needs, but he went beyond just the fact of being the messenger, of just being the courier. He risking his life, and I don't know what that looks like. We don't know what that looks. We don't know what happened. Did he fend off robbers on the way? Was he so sick? We know he was sick. He almost died. Was it because he continued to press on that long journey by foot? Did he continue to press on even though he was very ill? But he went beyond just giving Paul, bringing to him what he needed, what the Philippians gave him. He went beyond that. He made up for the help you could not give me. If you're a gap filler and someone you love has gaps, you protect their reputation. You just kind of hedge over there. Don't let them be attacked in that area. You just, when something's said about their reputation, you fill that gap somehow. You say the words that protects them. And Epaphroditus was a person like that, protected people's reputation. Apparently the Philippians fell just a little short of what Paul needed, but Epaphroditus was there to fill the gaps. Honor men and women like him. Now, what about being like him? I was reading over and over and over this passage, thinking, what is the message, Lord, that you have for us? And it came to me, give your best to those close. So often we put our best foot forward when we're meeting someone for the first time. We are the kindest, most courteous when we're meeting someone that we probably will never meet again. And then get in a car and treat each other not as kind. And so the thought came to me, give your best to those close. You know, how do we give our best? You were created in the image of God. And part of that image of God is the power of words. Words are extremely powerful. God spoke the worlds into existence. The power of the spoken word. And you remember the first job that Adam was given was to name the animals. He was created, he was given responsibility, he was given authority, and I love that, Genesis 2:19. Whatever Adam named the animals, that was its name. God gave him the authority and then stepped back and let him execute that authority. And when it comes to being created in the image of God, we have the power of words. And we all know the pain or the blessing that words cause. And we can say sticks and stones, but we all know that little saying that our mom told us to say, get back out there and play and tell them this. We all know it's not true because words hurt. And we can be as old as the first one to come get a pocket knife this morning and still feel the pain from words that were spoken to us 70-some years ago. Words are powerful. And God gave us that power on purpose to represent Him. So how about we give our best words to those closest to us? You know, we read from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 3. It's our memory verse for this week. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory. Let's look at this next verse. At the sound of their voices, the doorpost and thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. There is power when we speak the truth. And you could say, well, the truth is, he's a knucklehead. The truth is, she was created in the image of God. The truth is, they have potential that would blow our minds if we would pull away all the barriers and encourage that potential. The power of words. So how do we use the words? The first place that we should speak words on behalf of those closest to us is in prayer. If you don't pray for those closest to you, who will? God has designed life, society, the family for a purpose. Told my 7-year-old grandson, because I got this bit of wisdom earlier in the week, and they were just a day or so before they were leaving, and I sat down at the table, and my son was sitting there, and Brian was across the table, and I said, do you know why you're supposed to obey your parents? And Steve answered. And I said, no. I said, because it's practice, obeying God. And you know, he who loves to play ball, any kind. I said, you know, the game is won on the practice court, on the practice field. It's not won in the championship game. It's won in the practice. And the reason why we obey our parents is because we are practicing obeying God. And Steve says, okay, I'll give you that one. If you don't pray for those closest to you, who will? When Deborah and I were in Israel and we, in Jerusalem, went to a museum and watched a documentary on the Six-Day War when Israel was attacked by Syria from the north and Jordan from the east and Egypt from the south, all at the same time. Their leaders got together and planned this thing. And in one of those battles, tank battles, during those 6 days, the Israeli tanks were greatly outnumbered. In one battle, they were outnumbered 200 to 5 tanks. And they were fleeing, they were running. But to sit there and listen to the recording of the radio transmissions, and that commander in one of those 5 tanks over the radio as they're fleeing says, "We are the only thing standing between our families and the enemy." And they turned around and they won that battle. Of course, it was a miracle. The enemy, I can't remember if it was the Syrians, probably was. They lost a lot of tanks. They had, just read just a few blurps on that 6-day war. Israel did not stand a chance. They were outnumbered. And they won that battle. You may be the only one between your family and the enemy who is out to destroy them. So pray. And of course, give your best words to those close. Bless. Bless. You know, it's so easy to fall in the trap of, I have the tendency, I think for some reason I get this urge, I got to be funny. And somehow we think that putting people down can be funny, especially when you get the guys together and Toby Mac has a song out called Speak Life. He says we can turn our heart, this is about our heart first, that's how he starts out before we're talking about other people. He says we can turn our heart through the words we say. That's true. So speak life. Talks about the darkness, downtrodden. Watch them come alive as soon as you speak hope. Lift your head a little higher, spread the love like fire. Hope will fall like rain when you speak life with the words you say. Raise your thoughts a little higher. Use your words to inspire. Joy will fall like rain when you speak life with the things you say. The power of words. And if you're going to bless them with words, then take it up a notch and bless them with words within the hearing of other people. You really believe that? Bless their future. Ask God to help you see their God-given potential and talk about it. So give your best words, and of course, give your best actions. Now, I am part of what got me to this message this morning is that I confessed to Casey this week one of the regrets that I have with my son who is now in heaven, and that is I missed his 10th birthday party for a church board meeting. And why did I share that with Casey? So that he won't ever do anything like that. So what I'm saying this morning is not from because I did it all right. Give your best actions. Visit their world. I can remember thinking, I need to spend time with the boys. I should invite them to spend the day with me at work. God so loved us that he came to our world. Bless with our actions by visiting their world. The people close to you. Visit their world by listening. Listening is real action. Yeah. Listening takes energy, takes effort. That's why there's so few people who are good at it. And be a gap filler. You know, with every strength that a person has, there's a corresponding weakness. So you can look at it from the other side. With every weakness, there's a corresponding strength. When you see someone's weakness, their gap, think, well, what is the opposite of that? And encourage it. And fill the gap. You know, God created us all different. We have different strengths and different weaknesses. But together, and it's just like families, together we fill the gaps. God's designed it that way. God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God is community. That's why he created us to be in community with one another. Starting first of all, husband and wife, and then family and extended family and communities and so forth. It's God's design because it's like him. Fill the gaps. Don't point out the gaps. Go to the other end and celebrate the strength, which is the last one with your actions. Celebrate them. Celebrate those close to you. You know, when you think about heroes, you know, this is the only place in Scripture that Epaphroditus is mentioned. Well, he's mentioned again in chapter 4, but Timothy, he's mentioned several times. There's 2 books in the Bible named after him, but he didn't write them. They're letters that Paul wrote to him. When you think about heroes, a hero does the heavy lifting. When there's a hero in the room, everybody just looks to them for the answer or to get it done. And because Jesus lives, and because he is totally focused on us, we don't have to. We can focus on others, and we can do the heavy lifting of loving no matter what the situation is. When we take our eyes off of ourselves and we're willing to sacrifice like heroes do. Ella Wilcox wrote a lot. This is one thing that she wrote. There are 2 kinds of people on earth today, just 2 kinds of people, no more, I say. Not the good and the bad, for 'tis well understood that the good are half bad and the bad half good. No, the two kinds of people on earth I mean are the people who lift and the people who lean. I want to be a lifter. You know, I told that grandson about 5 years ago when he was 2 years old, I said, I will never tell you I'm too tired. Oh my goodness, that kid's got more energy than... And I think, I'm pretty sure to this day, I've kept that promise. I have said I need to sit down here for 15 minutes, but I've never put those two words together, too tired, or those three words, I'm too tired. You know, I've kept my promise so far, but it's about killed me. Heroes do the heavy lifting. And we need to read about heroes. We need to study. We need to read. What this Epaphroditus, this is all we know about him. Well, what little do we know? Let's look to him and let God inspire us to want to be like him. We all need heroes, and that's why. Let's sing that song, Because He Lives.